Hey, welcome back, guys. The mid-season finale of Raising Kanan Season 4 brought us a semi-resolution to the fate of one of its most central characters, Sean Famous Figueroa, offering a love letter of sorts to the character before revealing the shocking outcome of his tragic demise. I'm here to break it all down in typical Top 10 WTF fashion. Before we begin, be sure to hit the like button, subscribe, and bell notification to immediately receive these videos. Also, big thank you to all of my Patreon family. If you'd like to be the next one, hit the link pinned to the comments below. And lastly, a spoiler alert is now in effect for all things Power. Here we go. WTF moment number 10, the ghost of Famous Past. The episode kicks off with a flashback of Famous's household way back in the days of his childhood. Famous, his sister, and his mother are being terrorized by a man named Luis, who may be Famous's father, but due to the fact that Famous never refers to the man as father or papa, and simply by his first name Luis, it could also be surmised that this is the man that his mother chose to provision over the family, and he's betrayed them in the worst way by exacting violence upon them. Mama Fame attempts to leave the man in the middle of the night following a violent outburst earlier, only to be forced to do the unthinkable courtesy of her son and his need for his favorite toy and pseudo-spiritual protector, Hulk Hogan. Upon Fame's attempt to return to his room and grab the toy, he's confronted by the man, leaving his mother in a place where she has to stab him in order to flee for good. The family then retreat to a community center of sorts in order to gather themselves and rebuild their lives. WTF moment number 9, slapped and all. Marvin and Rock press David on why their product isn't moving out of the warehouse any longer, the operation being stalled by David and to a greater degree his brother Terry in fear of what transpired last episode with the robbery attempt by Unique. David plays several stalling games with the two siblings, only to have his hair styled and rearranged courtesy of Marvin's backhand, and a gun put directly in his face with a playful gesture. Rock then leaves David with a warning that if things don't get back up and running soon, both of them will be seeing that dead mother of theirs. WTF moment number 8, the Paisan in Jersey. After the botched hit on Rock's warehouse and losing an ally as a result, Unique sets his sights on Jersey after meeting with Sal Baselli's widow during last episode. He approaches the new underboss there, Phil Russo, and attempts to bridge the gap between the two, with the central caveat being a chance of revenge against Stefano for Phil and Rock for Unique himself. However, Nick is sharply rebuked by Russo and deduced to merely a man on fire for revenge but lacking execution and structure. This sends Nick into a frenzy of sorts as he scrambles to find any allies to continue his onslaught against Rock. One interesting thing we learned from Russo, though, is that he never heard any reverberations from the streets that Rock was the culprit against Unique in his murder attempt, something that'll play in her favor once all is revealed later this season. WTF moment number 7, dissed and dismissed. Quan and Rock share an icy and arguably their final exchange during a brief meeting for payment. Rock still refuses to pay the tax increase, and upon Quan inquiring why, she questions him on just why he flipped the script. Quan informs his now former business partner that she lacks honor, character, and the display of strength, and that he doesn't respect her like he did Unique. Now, part of this is due to Rock's seedy maneuvers, but there is a lingering sexism undertone, as Quan is from an Eastern culture, and he's not used to even conducting business with a woman, especially one who can look him in the eye and can tell him where to go, which is what Rock does in this scene, even adding on the infamous B word to top it all off. Quan severs ties with her once and for all, refusing to supply her business any further, and leaving her in a state of desperation to recover a new plug sooner than later. WTF moment number 6, an interrogation with death. We finally learn how OC survived that robbery from Neek, as this reveals that he's been giving him intel in exchange for his existence. Neek pulls up on OC and forces him to get in the car and relay information. Trying to exchange the information while battling quote-unquote hay fever, OC reveals to Neek that Quan and Rock aren't on the same page, and worse yet, Kanan is skimming money off the top from her operation, which Neek concludes is just stealing from his own family, not knowing the inner conflicts that have taken place between Unique and Rock since he last associated with her. This is a piece of knowledge that will come in handy for Unique when it's time for him to reveal his status. And as he pulls for allies, Kanan may just be the most critical one that he can have at his disposal. WTF moment number 5, Pranessa pull-up. Pranessa surprisingly confronts Rock about those envelopes she's been getting for months in her mailbox. She accuses her guilty conscience as a reason for the money, and Rock swiftly denies any wrongdoing in Neek's death, surmising that it could be a friend of his that's doing right by Unique by doing right by his baby mother and his son. Pranessa pulling up on Rock here just intensifies the pending reveal of Unique. How will she feel once she learns that her fallen baby father has been alive all this time? And what would his reaction be if she denies him in the flesh? It could get dangerously interesting for her character. WTF moment number 4, a fearless fool. After Rock tells her brother not to press too hard against Terry, Marvin attempts to have a reasonable conversation with the man in order to get their operation fully back up and running. Terry, however, not only rebuffs Marvin's courtesy, but foolishly threatens him with police action, no longer fearing his blackmail attempts. After fully committing to being a loose end and stating that he'll go to the police and expose the Thomas family in exchange for his own safety, Marvin takes his gun off safety and empties the clip on that fool. Now, while seemingly dumb on Marvin's part and disobedient to his sister's orders, Marvin's actions here is nothing different than what Rock would have done had Terry threatened her with the same fate. This only gets their operation back up and running quicker, as David is the dumber of the two brothers and hence more easily controllable. WTF moment number 3, Mama Morphine's rage. Mama Joyce has a fall at her home, and her grandchildren quickly get her to the hospital, where she's in excruciating pain and is given morphine to subside it, albeit futilely. Each of her family members are contacted in order to see her in what's assumed to be her final hour, and upon Marvin's visit, Mama Joyce reactivates her evil ways and attempts to manipulate her son into a euthanasia attempt, giving her a peaceful death as opposed to the excruciating one that karma deems she's worthy of. After mulling it over for a time, Marvin sadly refuses to do so, because while taking a life is nothing to him, he can't live with the weight of taking his own mother's, especially unbeknownst to his own siblings. This refusal sends Mama Joyce into a demonic rage, as the seemingly sweet, feeble, helpless woman turns into the devil himself and sharply rebukes her oldest son and calling him the very same things that he says Rock thinks he is. I think our time is just about up on this episode, and to be honest, not short enough it was. WTF moment number 2, another deadly alliance. Following Quan's dismissal of Rock, he's approached by none other than Unique later in the episode. Now, the interesting thing about this is that Quan was just lamenting Unique and how honorable of a man he was. So to have another chance at working with not just Unique, but a revenge-filled version of himself, and Quan having his own axe to grind against Rock, just makes for one of the most deadliest alliances that we're ever gonna see. Rock's operation is already fleeting, so this gives Quan a chance to empower a competitor in real time, while cutting Rock off at the proverbial knees. And WTF moment number 1, an infamous death. An unnamed character, who many of you believe to be Power's GOAT, attempts to rob a liquor store in his neighborhood and put a whole 40 ounce in his jacket before fleeing the store. Then, the store owner runs after him and chases him down to an abandoned section of town, where the two confirm the fate of a character we knew very well and are only given a glimpse of his mangled corpse under a filthy mattress. Yes, Sean Famous Figueroa is finally discovered, much to the sickness of his discoverers and us as the audience. Then, his mother later has to identify his body, and upon pressing Garcia to view him, falls into a terrifying bit of sadness as she's forced to come face to face with her worst fears. Some lingering thoughts before we end today's video. The question on everyone's mind is this: who killed Famous? I have a few ideas, but that's for another video. For now, who do you think killed Famous? Drop me all of your predictions in the comments below. The Drawdown Disciples are definitely an offshoot of the Wu-Tang Clan, right? It makes you wonder how many versions of rap's greatest group existed before one was chosen to explode and later expand. And lastly, there is a theory going around that says that an adolescent ghost was the one who robbed that liquor store from none other than Papa Valdez, who on the surface does resemble Angela's father. The kid, however, doesn't resemble Ghost in the slightest, and may be just too young to be the Ghost Man to begin with, because as we know, Kanan is 4 years older than Ghost, which means if Kanan is in his senior year in high school, although not interested in finishing, Ghost will likely be either an 8th grader or entering his freshman year in high school. And I don't know about that. How old do you think this kid is who robbed the liquor store? Y'all let me know in the comments below. But anyway, what were your thoughts on episode 5 as a whole? Be sure to drop me your opinions in the comments below. R.I.P. to Famous, and hopefully his death is finally resolved in episode 6. But that will do it for this one. As always, I thank you for watching today's video. If you liked today's video, go ahead and drop $1 on that Cash App for us, hit the like button, share it with your friends who are Power fans, and subscribe for more content such as this. This is Rudy P. Magic of Rudy P. Magic Beats, and have a blessed one until the next one. Peace, y'all.